Trust but verify. That was Reagan's favorite line regarding the Soviet Union back in the day. And I think the same could be said for the Google Pixel 7 Pro that we have before us. I understand the hesitancy that a lot of people have regarding this device based off of what happened last year. But this video is meant to calm people a little bit because there still is a long way to go with this device. There's a lot of updates to be had. Things still could go wrong. But this is not the Pixel 6 and the Pixel 6 Pro. The things that are going wrong with the Pixel 7 Pro are very different in nature. And I think a lot of people are out there trying to find these things that might come up, that might cause a stir. I'm not going to say that the overheating isn't an issue. I'm certainly not going to come out and categorically say just no, it's not a thing. There are certainly people that are having issues with that. I've had a couple times where the device has gotten hot, but that's not abnormal with other devices. Someone had left a comment in the overheating video saying, well, until you have this running 4K 60 video and for 20 minutes, you can't possibly say the device. Well, I did that. I sat here, I had my iPhone 14 Pro running at 4K 60 frames a second recording. I had this recording right next to it, and they had the same amount of heat. Now, the iPhone dissipates heat differently than the Pixel 7 Pro. In fact, any sort of heat that the Pixel 7 Pro has, I think dissipates differently because it sends it out to the stainless band. So if you don't have a case on your device and you're holding it, even if you have a particularly thin case, you will feel the warmth of this device. But these comments saying, well, I never had that problem with my Samsung, I never had the problem with the iPhone, are nonsense. If you had a Samsung S21 Ultra, a OnePlus 9, anything that ran the Snapdragon 888, you could fry an egg on those phones. What are we talking about here? I'm the first one to get in line and bash a device if it's not running well. The Pixel 6 we roasted over an open fire coming up on the season last year for months. That's not the situation here. Those other devices heat up. My iPhone heats up, and a lot of it depends on whatever's going on in the background. I've had situations where my iPhone was warm to the touch. Just recording a video, these 10-minute videos that I do, at 1080 30, and it was overheating. And not overheating. Okay, overheating is an exaggeration, but just warm to the touch. So there is an element of let's get the Pixel as best we can. So I don't think that that's something that would keep me from getting this device this year. And part of the reason is this device this year, unlike last year, now a portion of that was Android 12. We'll talk about how they've kind of better meshed the two this year. But this feels like a finished product. This feels like a coherent product where the software and the hardware come together to give you an experience that's worth the money. Last year, that could not be said. That device, the Pixel 6, felt disjointed. And part of that was they released Android 12 at the same time they released the device. They released them both in October. They weren't ready for the different software issues. And because you couldn't get any other software on your Pixel 6 but Android 12, they had to go down with the ship. And that's really what happened. I think a lot of that was Android 12. A lot of that was their hesitancy to deal with it and the optimization issues they had with the hardware. This year, they had 2 months of lead time with Android 13. There were issues with Android 13 on release that you saw on the Pixel 6, but they had a couple of months to iron those things out. They had a little lead time to make sure Android 13 was in a decent place so they could put it on the hardware for the Pixel 7 Pro and not have those growing pains right at the beginning at launch. And that's really what we have here with this device. A really nice device to use, really smooth. We're going to have the comparison with the S22 Ultra coming up later in the week. I know people have been looking forward to that. The camera, I'll tell you, speaking of the S22 Ultra, it is nice to use a camera that you could take a picture, have it be processing, have the shutter speed be nice, take a nice clean image. We'll show some of them again here. I love what it did with the charcoals and the color. It's kind of a natural image, not a lot of oversaturation with these pixel shots, but it was nice to be able to do that, take a quick photo, get done with it, close the camera app, and the system didn't have a seizure like it does with any Samsung product. I don't understand that, but my Galaxy Fold does it, my S22 Ultra does it, everything that my A53 5G, forget it. The thing basically shuts down when you want to take a photo and go back into the camera app. So it is nice to have a camera app and a photo that goes along with it. And when we compare the two, we'll talk about how it's not necessarily just a photo that it takes, because I think that's subjective for a lot of people. It's more the system that goes around it, the camera app and the photo combined. There are some quirky things still. You have to turn Now Playing on. So you have to go into settings. It's not on by default, which I thought it was for the Pixel 6 and Pixel 6 Pro, but that's okay. That's a little quirky thing. You go in there, you do that. You have to go on into display and turn on the Quad HD. It comes with 1080p out of the box, like the Samsungs do. But the inflection point and the kind of idea here is that with Pixel phones, we've gone back to them just being weird, being a little quirky. There was always that stuff in the back of our minds when we were talking about the Pixel 4, the Pixel 3. Just kind of like, oh, geez, Google, why did you do that? Kind of those things. Not the overwhelming things like it was infuriating, you didn't want to use the phone. We've gone back to mildly annoying with Pixel as opposed to, and I say that with love. We've gone back to mildly annoying with Pixel as opposed to want to throw it against the wall like it was with the Pixel 6. So if you've been on the fence, so far so good. Are there some things? Yes, the stainless steel does feel a little bit sharp on here on the frame, even though it's got the waterfall glass. I'm sure that's more stark on the Pixel 7. With the flat display, you're going to feel that kind of sharp edge. That was a little odd. Yes, this is going to nick up here. The camera band here, the metal that you have here, that's going to nick up as you leave it on tables and stuff. Don't do that. Get yourself a case that's raised around the camera hump, or at least gives you some protection there, so you're not going to have those issues. But performance-wise, it is a little bit brighter this year, like I said in the initial review. That is nice. But performance-wise, day-to-day, everything's been running well. I've had one instance where I unlocked the device, it went in, and it froze up on me a little bit, just kind of froze on the unlock screen. But you know what? Like I've had with my iPhones, that's what the difference. It wasn't a system UI crash. The whole thing didn't have to be restarted. It was literally an unlock, and I was back to where I needed to be. It was over with. And that, to me, I can live with. Those are hiccups. Those are little system quirks that are going to happen in these devices, complex as these. Those I can live with. Face unlock has been flawless. In fact, I couldn't even really test the fingerprint sensor that much because face unlock is immediate. Fantastic. They've done a great job with it. And that's one thing that you like to see as well. There isn't this kind of stubbornness that we've had in the past with Pixel devices where there's a problem, it's clear, a lot of people are having it, they just ignore it. They went in saying the front end experience this year on the Pixel 7 Pro had to change. The things that you interact with 100% of the time that you use the phone had to get better. Fingerprint sensor, which is good. Face unlock added, which is excellent. And the few times that it has failed, regular amount of failure. I have the same issues with, please get closer to whatever on the same. I've had the same amount, okay? So it's not a lot that happens. But the fingerprint sensor has been flawless on top of that. So you have two ways to quickly unlock your device, which is great. That's been a definite change. So you like to hear, or you like to see rather, that receptiveness to change things that were issues, not just ignoring them as Google may have done in the past. That's nice to hear. But overall, the thing is, if you're scared, if you were waiting, if you had a 6 and your 6, you finally got your 6 in tune where it's running well, and you don't want to give that up to try something, you're kind of the devil you know, as opposed to getting a new device and a new set of problems and all the rest of it, just in using it for almost a week now, daily use, everything has been okay. There hasn't been a point where I said, I'm done with this. I'm taking my SIM out. I had multiple of those with the Pixel 6 in the first 2 months. Until one point where I say, my SIM's coming out and it's not going back in. Not the case with the 7. This has been pleasant. Take that for what it is. There's still updates to come. There still are things that could go wrong, right? That trust but verify. There are still things that we could look at on this device that could go wrong in the future. But so far, again, so good. So if you're somebody who needs a phone, deciding between a 6 and a 7, you're just a Pixel fan and you want a Pixel, this one has been safe. If you've made it this far, like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Until next time, have that Steve-licious day.